What you can't see right here is the right coronary artery comes off the base of the aorta right there, underneath the pulmonary trunk. You can see it in this drawing, because the pulmonary trunk is cut away. And it branches very quickly. Once it comes out, it comes down the front of the heart in the interventricular sulcus there as the anterior interventricular branch of the left coronary artery.
Say that again?
Anterior interventricular branch of the left coronary artery is right there.
Anterior?
Anterior. In medical terms, they don't call it that. They call it the left anterior descending coronary artery, LAD for short. So if you're a nurse someday, you'll hear that. That's the artery they're talking about. It's also called the widow or widower, because if you get a major blockage there, it's more likely to be fatal than the other artery. Oh, yes. Yes.
Oh, well, thank you. Maybe it's a
You need to talk to
Doubles.
Sorry about that. Take you away from this. I'm just gonna... Anyway, the other branch, the circumflex, goes around the heart this way. Circumflex kind of tells you it's circling and it's flexing around the back. It's like this. So that takes care of the left one. The right coronary artery, a little more straightforward. It comes down like this on the right side between the atrium and the ventricle, around the back. And it does give off an anterior branch here, but this branch on the side is the marginal branch of the right coronary. So it does have other branches, but the major branch you want to know is the marginal right here. Now, that takes care of my part of the arteries. There are the ones in the back, the posterior interventricular branch, and so on. But that's all you need to know for me. The left goes anterior interventricular branch and circumflex. And then the right comes down and gives off a marginal. Those are the arteries for the coronary circulation.
So circumflex?
Circumflex is on the left side, around the left, between the left ventricle and left atrium is a circumflex branch. That would be this one, right?
And
Not the blue one, the red one, of course.
And the marginal artery?
Marginal, like they're showing here, is right there.
Marginal. And the last one is to know?
The right gives off the marginal.
Okay.
The left gives off anterior interventricular branch and circumflex branch, which goes around that.
Yeah, because
Now, you got to remember, understand, all these arteries come around and connect in the back. They don't just stay separate; they interconnect, but they have separate names for them here. This is a marginal artery too, on the left one, but for some reason we don't deal with it. But if you were in studying the heart circulation in more detail, you would learn that's a marginal too, the left marginal. Alrighty. What about the veins now? Strange that the arteries are called coronary arteries, supplying blood to the heart muscle. The veins are called cardiac veins. A different term. Cardiac veins, coronary arteries. This big blue one coming up the sulcus here, and also same thing there, going around back. It comes up and goes around the back. That's the great cardiac vein. Biggest one, so it's a great one.
Now, if you have, because like I know that, like here is the great cardiac, but when it comes down,
It's a great cardiac until it gets into there, and then it becomes the coronary sinus.
But is this part of it too? Or if it's just here, the great cardiac vein is just here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought that was a certain
No, we're talking
Artery,
about this.
circumflex artery, that's the great cardiac vein.
So it's just that part. Okay.
Then you have your posterior cardiac and your middle cardiac vein. Small cardiac here. All of them. You notice most all of it, not every one of them, but most all of the cardiac veins. Sorry to make you have to do that, honey, but it's just procedure. You know.
No, sorry, there.
All of these veins, except for maybe a few in the front here, some of these guys here, carry the blood into a sac right here, which is called the coronary sinus. The great cardiac does, the middle and posterior cardiac all enter the coronary sinus, as well as the small cardiac, all enter this sinus. The sinus then will empty the blood into the right atrium. And you can see that little, I'll point to it right here. I'll point to you too. See that red hole right there? That's the entrance of the coronary sinus. Or where it empties, I should say, at least the opening for it. What's the opening right above it? Where does that go?
Inferior vena cava.
Inferior vena cava. You could have found those in the sheep's heart too. I don't stress them, but you can locate them. One of the videos that you can watch shows the coronary sinus, inferior vena cava in the sheep's heart too.
So,
This is this is a slippery little level. Now, that is the opening of the coronary sinus, which is the same as this one here.
Okay.
That collects blood that's deoxygenated coming back from the heart. So it goes into the right atrium. Where does it go from there? Through the tricuspid valve
Right, tricuspid valve.
to the right ventricle, up through the pulmonary valve, pulmonary trunk, right and left pulmonary arteries to the lungs, gets some oxygen, comes back to the through the pulmonary veins to the left atrium, from the left atrium through the bicuspid valve to left ventricle through the aortic valve into the aorta. Most of the aortic blood is going to go throughout your body, but a small portion of it goes through each of those coronary arteries to the heart itself. And you completed that circuit. It's a good thing to kind of, go through that in your mind, write down these circuits, and that helps you learn it too, I think. Not that that's the way we would test you on it. The test is going to be, what is this, what is this, what is this, and so on. But so let's review those arteries once again,
so
real
wait,
quick.
so the artery will be red.
Yes, and the vein will be blue.
And then where is opposite?
Where is it opposite?
The trunk.
Pulmonary.
Okay.
Pulmonary trunk and arteries are blue because they're carrying deoxy blood. Pulmonary veins are red because they're carrying oxygenated blood.
Okay.
Every other vessel, arteries are red, veins are blue, etc. But again, you cannot see the emergence of the left coronary artery. You can on the picture. So check your book out for that. It divides. What's this branch?
So,
Great cardiac muscle.
I'm an artery now, not a vein.
Oh, coronary.
circumflex.
Circumflex branch.
The blue one?
The red
Yeah.
one's
Red
circumflex.
one's a circumflex
That's
branch.
fine.
Yeah, that's
Red
why
one's
I'm
a circumflex
confused.
branch because that's a branch of the artery here. The red one down the front is the anterior interventricular branch. And
This is the sulcus?
sulcus, yeah, it goes in the sulcus. Now, the right coronary artery just comes off the right side and goes down around the back, but in the meantime, gives off a marginal branch. Right on the edge
So
of
it's
the
just
bone.
called marginal branch.
All these coronary arteries are taking blood to the, and they're also supplying the atria too. You don't see that, but they are supplying the atria. But they're carrying blood to the heart muscle so it can get enough nutrient, enough sugar, enough oxygen to keep working. And if you get a clot or some platelet blockage or whatever in these particular vessels, and the blood flow stops going to the heart muscle, what do you call that?
Heart attack.
No, you won't. Not necessarily. You have about a 50-50 chance of it.
I was half right.
Heart attack. What they call a MI, myocardial infarction.
For the sheep,
Pardon me?
sheep's heart itself, what parts are we going to have to know on the sheep?
They're in the bowl print within the sheep's heart section. But I'll tell you right now, even though it may ask you to know the opening of the coronary sinus and that's hard to point to. The aortic valve is hard to point to. The rest of it is, I can put a pen in it
So the
and ask you
bowl.
what it is. Yeah. Anything that's really hard, like the aortic valve is difficult, as I just said, and the opening of the coronary sinus is hard.
How about the
Hard to put a pointer in there, and so a student can definitely see that's what it is. I found in my experience that's difficult. The rest of it you should be able to identify, okay?
And of
Finally
course,
gotta
the
put this
chapter
in.
review and the matching, that would be
Pardon
very,
me?
the chapter review and the matching, I would think that would be pertinent or for the
Because you usually
practical.
put a couple of the
Like-
multiple choice
Um,
through
You mean the matching, I don't know.
the.
Oh, I have my chapters confused?
Chapter
Oh, I'm
matching.
sorry.
Have it, yeah.
Chapter 1 had the matching, I
Yeah,
apologize.
chapter 1 does. Yeah.
But isn't it over chapter 1 and the heart and the blood?
Yeah.
Both, right?
The
Yeah.
heart.
Yeah, so you have to know both of them. Now, if you want to pay attention, I'm going to talk about the test a little bit next week at about 3:15, 3:30, depending on when I can get it finished, get it ready. You'll come in and take a 54-question exam. It's set up in stations, cards. Will be diagonal across the table, so you'll also use. We didn't do it that way in AP1, but in here we use the counters. And the last place over here will be extra points for you, up to 4 possible points, extra credit. We do a number of things, like the blood will be similar to the quiz. You'll have more microscopes, of course, but there'll be microscopes with cells to identify. So if you want to review those again, they're up there to review before you leave. You'll have to know again the identification of them, the whole counts for reds, whites, platelets. You'll have to know the differentials for all the whites, their functions. Functions for all of them, really, but the whites are the ones we really differentiated amongst, like what's a neutrophil do compared to a monocyte compared to an eosinophil, that sort of thing. So much like your quiz. What's an hematocrit? What is a differential? That sort of thing. Didn't do a lot with blood type in here. That's going to be more lecture. I did show you my blood typing, but there'll be minimal questions on that, if any. With the heart now, we've got a few models we can put out, and it's just tape here. What's that? You know, what's this vessel? What's this chamber? Open up inside. What's the valve? What are the strings you're pointing to? That sort of thing. What are the? Okay, I covered this up too quickly. Like inside, what would this valve be? I can have a pointer on it. That would be the pulmonary valve or tricuspid valve. What are the strings? Chordae tendineae. What's this big muscle here? Papillary. What's this thing? The structure is an interventricular septum. What's the meat in here called? Myocardium. Epicardium. Endocardium. Right. Aortic valve's up under there. It's a little hard to see, but I can point to it. Unlike in the sheep's heart, that's much harder to point to. All the vessels that you know about already. Get used to, again, and I know you know to do this because it's in the lab manual, the anterior aspect versus the posterior aspect of the heart too. So these are the pulmonary veins, pulmonary arteries, the blue arteries, veins. What's this appendage called? Auricle. It's the same as this one. Okay? Now we have different hearts. I like this one the best. The Carolina's fine. We got smaller versions of the Sanso, but this one right here, this is out of one of the models. It's a little different because the vessels are cut off shorter here. And this doesn't go with this, as you've noticed. I never noticed that before. It's the same model, but a different, I don't know, but it still works. But you can see the left ventricle versus right, the interventricular sulcus there. What's this?
Right auricle.
Right auricle, left
atrium.
auricle. Or you could say it, chamber is the atrium, of course, but the atrium is also here too. The
Now-
auricle is just the front appendage.
How would you say that on a quiz or a
Well,
test if
I
you
could put a
wanted
piece of
the
tape
auricle?
there and say, what part of the atrium is this?
Oh, okay. There we go.
Be a little more specific. If I
Right.
said what chamber,
Right.
right
Atrium.
atrium.
Yeah.
It's the way you ask the question.
Okay.
What's that?
Inferior vena cava.
Vena cava. This one,
Superior.
superior vena cava. Just a little bit of the aorta there. The blue ones here.
Pulmonary.
Just like with that one. Pulmonary artery.
Would you want us to be so specific to be like ascending aorta or arch of the aorta?
No,
Okay.
no. You can also see the valves in there. They're not quite as nice as the SAMSO, but what I'm saying is be prepared for any of these models to have questions asked about them. Can I use photographs out of the manual? Yes, I do. And a couple of atom pictures, too, will be on there. Just a couple of those.
They'll be as per in the
Be
manual.
prepared to answer questions from the review set, too. You know, like you said, the
Chapter
Matching.
reviews.
review for Chapter 1 that had the matching, as well as the fill in the blank.
Did you
Mhm.
put the review for chapter 2 up?
Yeah, I did. I hope it's there. I put it up. You even checked it.
Yeah. For the last
A few days ago, I put it up.
Now, the atoms that you're going to use, are you going to use the same ones in the lab, or you might use some different ones to try to illustrate something?
No, the same ones that you printed out today.
Okay.
That's a good one there. And a couple of stations, probably the first stations, will be on the sheep's heart, where you need to know, as I said, the chambers, the major vessels, the valves. You can identify the pectinates and trabeculae carni much better here, but you can also see them in the sheep heart too. So,
Pectinate muscle?
you can see the valve leaflets or cusp, the chordae tendineae for the ABs. The only semilunar valve that can possibly be asked on there would be the pulmonary, because I can open that up and point to one of the little cusps. So, not that I'm going to, but I say I might. I don't really know what I'm going to ask till I get in here. I just set it up. I don't pick it up ahead of time. I just set it up as I go.
Pulmonary veins. The aorta.
But,
The superior vena cava.
any other questions that I could answer? Or?